Hey everybody, how's it going? Um, I'm gonna do, I have this feeling that I want to do a series of vlogs that are gonna be kind of under the same umbrella. And I'm seemingly going to be talking about one topic, but I'm gonna be extrapolating culture, my observations on culture from these anecdotal incidents that happened to me. And I have nothing to back these up as far as research or extensive knowledge goes. I can really only base them on, you know, what's happened to me in my experience in my 6 years in Japan, and the way I kind of like sometimes sit at home at night and think about these things. So that's all a very vague way of introducing the fact that I'm going to talk probably for about the next 8 minutes about Coca-Cola, which I think most of you know I drink daily. But as a way of kind of talking about Japanese culture, and I'm curious to know, especially from non-American viewers, about your experience growing up with Coca-Cola. So the whole reason for this vlog and the thing that prompted this was I had a student in my office the other day, and I usually have a bottle on my desk. Now this is not Coca-Cola. This is the 0-calorie Pepsi Next, which I abhor. But I buy these sometimes to get the little toy on top. I give this away. I don't drink it. So I had a bottle of Pepsi, Coca-Cola, open, and I was talking, and I drank a swig, and the student was in my office and chatting with another teacher that was in my office, and she looked over at me and she goes, "Jason, how much of that do you drink every day?" And I said, "About this much. I try to keep it down to about 500 milliliters." And she's like, "I've never tasted Coca-Cola." And I was like, I was just taken aback. I was just stunned for a moment. And I think it's because I mean, this is not me teaching at an elementary school or even a junior high school. This is a 20-year-old, 19 or 20-year-old adult person who's grown up their entire life, and they claim to have never tasted, never sipped a Coca-Cola. And so I don't know. Maybe this isn't shocking to you, but it was just shocking to me. I was like I didn't believe her, of course, at first. I'm like, seriously, really? And she's like, yeah, yeah, I've never tasted it. I don't think I would like it. And I'm like, well, you've never tried it? And she goes, no, I've never even tried it though. And I was blown away. So it started me thinking, like that night after I got home, and I was thinking about it, like, why? Like, why? How could she get to age 20 and not have tasted Coca-Cola? Because, I'm assuming that if you're in America, by the time you're 10, let alone 20, you've tried Coca-Cola. Even if your parents are healthy, organic, vegan, health nuts or whatever, you probably have gone to a birthday party, gone to McDonald's after a soccer game, sometime, even at school maybe, you've had Coca-Cola, you've had cola. Now, of course, in America, there's so many colas. You could say, well, I've never had Coke, but I like Pepsi. Now, I'm not talking about that, because when we're talking about Coca-Cola, you have to remember in Japan, that's pretty much it. There are lots of cold beverages in every vending machine. And this is one of the reasons that I think maybe this student had never tried Coke, is there's CC Lemon, there's all kinds of teas, um, there really are no other off brands of cola. Sometimes you can get kind of generic cola at the grocery store. But there are other kinds of Coke, and I bought a couple here just to show you. This is Coke Zero Free. So this is no sugar, and no caffeine. Why? Why would you even open this and drink it? And then they don't really have Diet Coke here. And I think it's because Japanese people don't get a significant amount of their calories from beverages like Americans do. Like, one of the big reasons I'm fat, I know, is because I drink a lot of soda, and I have done for the past probably 20 years. It's a lot of empty calories. Um, I just don't think Japanese people have that worry, to the extent that, like, Diet Coke is almost as popular or more popular in America than regular Coke. It's just not the same here. But they do have it. Like, this is Coca-Cola Zero, which is basically like, I don't know which sweetener it uses, if it's aspartame or whatever. But this is basically their Diet Coke. But it's, you can get it. but it's not the silver label, and it's not doesn't say diet on it anywhere. It's not quite the same, I think, as Diet Coke in America. And the aforementioned Pepsi. This you can find everywhere. And in fact, there's one major fast food chain called Moss Burger. If you go in and ask for cola with your, burger and fries, this is what you get. This is the only cola they offer that's dark and carbonated, and it's diet. And so I stopped going there, literally, because they don't have a regular soda option. Um, but anyway, so, when she says she hasn't had Coke, it basically means she's never really tried cola ever. She's drank lots of other stuff, of course, all her life. One of the other things I think that contributes to this, when I was thinking about it, is growing up. I mean, a lot of times, maybe like my mom didn't buy cola and bring it to the house. I didn't really start drinking cola until I was like out of the house in college. But I mean, of course, I drank it as I was growing up and a teenager. But the main place I got it was when we went out to eat. If we went out to McDonald's or a fast food restaurant or even like Chili's or somewhere like that, I'd probably get a Dr. Pepper, which is my favorite, or a Coke or something. Well, I know where this girl lives. I know her hometown. It's a very, very rural place. There's no McDonald's, there's no Starbucks, there's no KFC. Those are the three biggest American fast food places, if you will, that are in Japan. And there's none of that in her hometown. There's very few drive-throughs in Japan. Like in my town, we do have a McDonald's, but it's in a mall. We don't have a KFC in my town. So we don't have a Starbucks. There's no Starbucks like in the whole Chugoku region practically, other than maybe Hiroshima. So she didn't have a lot of opportunity growing up probably to go out to a restaurant and order a cola in the same way you kind of do when you go, and you get a Coke at McDonald's with your, Big Mac meal. Also at school, growing up, going to elementary school, the kids are offered one beverage, one choice. There's very few water fountains or anything else. They can have milk. They are given milk every day, white milk, not chocolate milk or anything like that, just white milk in a carton, and they're expected to drink it. Now, of course, some of you are like, huh? Aren't Asians lactose intolerant? I don't know that Japanese people are statistically as high in lactose intolerance as maybe Chinese people or Korean people. You'd have to look. But that's what they're offered, and they're encouraged to drink milk to get calcium and vitamins and stuff. And in fact, all through their school lunch program up until the ninth grade, that's the only option. If they don't drink the milk, they don't drink with their lunch. A lot of the kids will bring a thermos with them to school, either for their after-school club or to drink on the way home. And it will usually, almost always, it has tea in it. Not Gatorade, not water, not soda, not hot chocolate. It's almost always tea. And so they can go over and have, some tea, out of their thermos perhaps after they finish their meal. But when they're eating with their classmates, it's milk or nothing. I've never been at a school that has a vending machine on campus, whereas I did go to like an American high school this summer, and there was a vending machine on campus. Big branded Pepsi machine. Now, it might have had juice and Gatorade and other things in it, but my guess is, and water, but it probably also had Pepsi. There's nothing like that here. And I've never taught at high school. I don't know exactly what happens at high school. High school is the one place where it changed. They don't have kyushoku anymore, the school lunch that's made for them. They have to bring their lunch, kind of like what we would call brown bagging it or a sack lunch. It's obviously a bento because they're Japanese. And they can either bring the thermos that I mentioned, or they can perhaps buy a beverage. If you're a high school ALT, let me know. Does your high school sell Coke or CC Lemon or any other kind of soda beverage? I'd be interested to know. All right, I was going to try to keep this under 10 minutes, but it's going to go a little longer. So anyway, so growing up, I just don't think she had the opportunity. Birthday parties, like I mentioned, if your house was like, a no sugar zone or something, every kid goes off to a birthday party at some point. And maybe they have Coke, or something with the party favors and the cake and everything. Kids in Japan don't have those same kind of birthday parties. that we in America did, at least when I was growing up. Birthdays aren't as big a deal here, but this is really extrapolating this out wide. Um, so yeah, she managed to get to age 19 or 20 and has never tried Coke. So it's funny. I mentioned that there's different kinds of Coke, and this intrigued her. Other than this, I said, well, actually, a Coke that I like in America is cherry Coke. And she's like, really? That cherry? Oh, that sounds good. So I actually went out to a store like a few towns away where they import some stuff. And I bought some cherry Coke. So I'm gonna open one and in my office one day and have her come in and let her try it and see what she thinks. Um, I'll get back to you. But yeah, so I guess my question for you is, especially if you're not American, if you're watching this from some other country or you grew up in some other country, um, did you grow up drinking soda? Do you still like it now? See, I don't drink coffee. I get my caffeine through my daily intake of Coke. And as much as I prefer Pepsi and other brands, Coke is really the dominant cola brand in Japan, by far, especially in rural Japan. I know, in Tokyo and Osaka you have more choice, but out here, if you go down the aisle, it's not like in America where it's just like row after row after row of like, all these different brands. Um, so yeah, that's how I get my caffeine every day. I don't drink coffee. I drink hot tea and like hot chocolate a little bit in the winter because it's obviously cold. But yeah, and then I drink other things, kind of, to not have to drink Coke all the time. But I've cut back a lot. I used to be really bad when I was in college, especially, and when I would like go to class during the day and then work my part-time job till midnight. I would be downing probably like a 2 liter bottle a day, and I've cut back. So anyway, so I just found that very interesting, and the reasons perhaps why and how the culture is different. And I know that there's a problem with kids, in America, especially, the obesity problem and the fact that they do, get addicted to sugary drinks very early. And it's just not a problem. The kids are so surprised. I think I mentioned this in a blog before, but what I'll do is sometimes I'll go and I'll buy a bottle of regular Coke like this out of the vending machine that's near the cafeteria. All the kids in the cafeteria either drink a little glass of water out of the little free machine, or it also dispenses, Japanese ocha, kocha, tea, and get hot or cold. And and so almost nobody like has like a beverage next to them that's like a brand. Like sometimes they'll have a juice box type of thing if they buy it at the convenience store. But I'll go to the Jito Hambaiki, the vending machine, and I'll buy a Coke and set it down, next to my katsudon or whatever I'm having to eat from the cafeteria that day. And the kids got so like, it just amused them to no end that when it was my birthday last July, I got like 7 bottles of Coca-Cola that they had bought at the campus convenience store with like ribbon on and stuff. And that was my present because everybody just thinks, that that's my favorite thing ever. Um, and I do like it. But I was just blown away that she had never had Coke. Anyway, so that's my little cultural extrapolation, my kind of, cultural shock moments. I still have them. But when I thought about it, I figured, there were interesting reasons why she had gotten to this age and just never tried Coke. So, leave a comment. Did you grow up with Coke? Do you like it? Do you prefer something else? Did your mom buy it and have it in the house, etc., etc. All right. Thanks for watching, guys, as always, and I will see you next time.